I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, and the virtues of the masters, and the compassion and mercy of the grand predecessors, transmitters, lecturers, temple masters, and everyone for giving me this opportunity to talk about today's topic, which is chapter 37 of the Tao Te Ching. Okay. All right. So everybody can hear me, right? I'm fine, right? Okay. I hear an echo, but let's see. Okay. All right. Okay. So this chapter 37 is just so you'll know a little bit more background. It's the last chapter of the Tao Jing, which is the classic of the Tao, or the Tao classic, okay? Because the Tao Te Ching is really two books or two classics in one. It's the first half, it's the Tao Jing, okay, the Tao classic. And then the second half is the virtue classic, okay? All right, so this chapter 37 is the last chapter, okay? And so there are several reasons why it's very important, which I will talk about in the summary, okay, at the end. But for now, let's just start. The chapter is called Wu Wei Zhang, or literally it's non-action. If you use wei as the verb, okay. So non-action, wu is no, not, without. But it's better. Its meaning is more non-conditioned, non-attached action. Okay. All right. So it's basically divided into two main sections. The first two phrases, first line, is the, you can say, the intro, the proposition, the statement. And it's very interesting to see why he started out with these 8 words, okay? And we'll go a little bit more detail, not just in the analysis, but at the very end, okay? It has significance with respect to other chapters, okay? Okay. All right. So I'll leave it for now, right? And then the remainder of the chapter, it's one whole section, but it's subdivided into it's 10. The remainder is eight phrases. Okay, 8 phrases. Okay. All right. And it's divided into 4 sections, 4 subsections, okay? Subdivided. And I tried color-coded. There's a reason why I color-coded. One of them is to let you know that phrase 4 and 5 are connected, okay? So it's a continuous, train of thought, okay, of subject, all right? So even though it's two topics, but it's connected. Similarly with line 6 and 7, okay. So I don't know if you guys can see these colors, okay. So that's connected. And similarly for line 8 and 9, okay. Phrases 8 and 9. All right. Okay. So there's a reason why I color-coded besides that. And I'll talk about it in the very end, okay, in the conclusion. All right? Okay, so now let's go to the outline itself. It's a relatively shorter chapter. It's not as long as the previous chapter, 36, slightly longer than 35, but it's below average length, okay? All right. So here's the first line, first 2 phrases. It's this is wrong. Okay, here. Okay. Okay, that's correct. Okay, so the Tao is constant in non-action, or the better translation is non-conditional or non-attached action. Yet there is nothing it does not do. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's the basic translation. Okay, all right. Uh, this phrase is very important. Okay, this and of course this. Okay, so this and this. Okay, all right. Okay, so the basic meaning of the term wu wei, or non-action, that's the literal translation. It means that's unconditional, without any agenda, without a desire-driven attachment, not just a reason or purpose. Okay, so it's non-intention. Okay, no. Now, literally, it's non-action, so it's easily mistaken as a lot of translators translate as lack of action, inaction, or passivity. Okay, and so, but that's wrong. That's, even though literally it could mean that. Okay, but that's not what Lao Tzu meant. All right. So this is one of the most mistranslated and misinterpreted term of this entire classic Tao Te Ching. Okay. Now this term appears 12 times. Okay, so we've already seen it in chapters 2, 3, and 10, and then now 37. And if you notice, it appears 8 more times throughout the second half, or the virtual classic portion. Okay, so it's important. All right, okay. So the basic meaning of this first two phrases or line is the Tao is constantly at work. Okay, in non-attached action. There is action all the time in the world, in nature, in the universe, in the cosmos, etc. Similar to always, the Tao's in stillness, yet it's illuminating. Okay, so it's simultaneous. Okay, even though it's, you can't see the Tao, right? You can't see it, you can't hear it, or no. Okay, it's colorless, it's bland, etc., etc. But it's at work, not just at the cosmic scale. At work, meaning that it's functioning. That's maybe better. Okay, from the cosmic scale, from the scale, to the infinity, all the way down to the tiniest, most minute scale, at the quantum level or subquantum level, if you will. Okay, all right. And that meaning the Tao most certainly does not do nothing. Okay, so it's not passive, inactive, etc. It is constantly doing everything, everywhere in the world, in the cosmos. Okay, so from the galaxies and stars all the way down to the blades of grass and beyond, or to the subquantum level, nature does everything. We can see, plus much more we cannot perceive, right? Okay, all right, either at the very tiny scale, like subquantum level, all the way to the beyond cosmic scale. All right, okay, all right. Then there's another meaning of "cang." Yeah, "cang" means constant. That's the it could mean constant, permanent. Okay, that's the dictionary definition. Okay, but the deeper meaning is that it's always in emptiness and always in existence. So that's the you can say that's the essence portion, right? It's invisible. It's empty. It has no form. Okay, it's intangible, right? No color, no taste, no sound, etc. And yet it's always functioning. Okay, that's in existence. It always appears. Okay, but they're merged together. Okay, so that is our eternal Buddha nature essence. Not only is it the Tao, but it's also our Buddha nature essence. Okay, so in section 3 of chapter 1, which talks about Thus, constantly without desire, one observes its essence. Constantly with desire, one observes its manifestations. Okay, so it's that there's that combination or that two sides, two aspects to it. Okay, or chapter 16, section 2, which talks about, let's see, okay. Returning to the root is called tranquility. Tranquility is called returning to one's nature. Returning to one's nature is called constancy. Okay, so that's talking about Buddha nature. And knowing constancy is called clarity. Okay, so, all right. Okay. Now, the deeper, so that's what the constancy or permanence means. Okay. All right, here. Okay. There's a deeper meaning of wu wei, which we talked about, meaning it's unconditional, non-intention, or non-conditioned. Okay. What it means is it's not in the general scope, okay, non-conditioned action without attachment or agenda to the outcome, without struggle or straining effort. So it's not just non-conditioned or non-attached, but it's effortless. Okay, just is like, okay, just so. Okay, everything is done unconditionally, without intentions or attachments, or nothing is done with conditions. 无所作为. Okay, all right. So it's not subject to cause. It's spontaneous, detached from reason, without intentions or desires. You can say motiveless too. Okay, that's the general deeper meaning. The more specific, it represents our Dharma Dhatu or Dharma nature, the Dharma Kaya, or the Buddha nature essence. Okay, all right. The further understanding is when nature acts on the world, it does so without any emotional attachment to anything. When nature reigns on the world, it does not do so with affection for the nourishment of plants. What ought to happen between heaven and earth, nature, is how they will appear. Okay? Okay, additional meaning is when nature acts, it does not struggle to do anything. It just does everything. There's no straining effort on the part of nature to do anything. Okay, it's effortless. So nature just does what it does because it is just the way it is. It just naturally, spontaneously manifests. Okay, all right, or works or displays. Okay, so this is the same for the Tao. Okay, right? Okay. The great Tao is without preference, yet it regulates the sun and moon. Okay, that's from chapter 1 of the Purity and Stillness Sutra, Qing Jing Jing. Okay, all right. Okay. Okay. So another deeper understanding is the Tao acts independently, unconditionally, in an effortless and detached way. Okay, higher understanding is the Tao is non-conditioned in all its manifestations because that is its nature. There's no cause, criterion, or condition for the Tao to manifest anything. It just does so naturally, spontaneous, you can say effortlessly, without any cause or condition. Okay, so in chapter 25, okay, the section 1, it talks about saying there is something formlessly created, right? Born before heaven and earth, so silent, so ethereal, right? It's independent and changeless, circulating and ceaseless. Okay, it can be regarded as the mother of the world. Okay, I do not know its name. Identifying it, I call it Tao. Okay, so all right, that's chapter 25, section 1. Okay, all right. So the implication is the Tao constantly acts without conditions or emotional attachments because that is nature. Okay, so similar to the Buddhist concept of suchness or thusness, tathata, 如是. Okay, everything is done in perfect harmony by the all-pervasive Tao. Okay, meaning Tao is everywhere, right? It encompasses everything. Nothing is smaller than it, and nothing is greater than it. Okay, all right. So the key point: the Tao is always manifesting itself unconditionally. That is, it's non-conditioned, non-attached actions. The Tao essence just naturally displays its functions and is always in action, effortlessly, everywhere, without any emotional attachments. Just as heaven and earth continuously give rise to all living things. It's just effortless, non-conditioned, okay, all right, non-attached, etc. Okay, that's what the first line means. So yeah, I'll talk about that in the conclusion, that this is the very first line, and it's very important for other reasons, and there are many layers of meaning behind it. So I'll talk about that in the summary conclusion. Okay, all right, now let's go to section 2. Okay, so section 2 is, okay, if the sovereign can hold onto it, all things shall transform themselves. Okay, so that's the pretty literal translation. All right. This is important. Okay, we translate it as sovereign, yeah, because it's part of the feudal system of nobility. Okay, but it has other meanings too. But okay, so the basic meaning of this phrase is, or the first phrase is that sovereigns are those who rule. Okay, yeah, those who are in charge and those who cultivate the Tao. Okay, so that's important, and thus take charge of their own destiny. So if they can hold on to non-conditioned, non-attached action, that's what that first phrase means. Okay, if sovereigns can hold on to it being the non-conditioned Tao. Okay, action of Tao. Okay, another meaning is, okay, to hold on to the non-conditioned or non-attached actions in daily life is to hold on to the Tao, and it means what? Let non-conditioned, non-attached actions be your guide. Okay, continuously study Tao teachings. Keep those teachings in mind in your social interactions or in our everyday interactions, and apply the Tao to your life. To give the purpose, vision, goal, plan, meaning, etc. Now, frequently reflect on the current state so you can make adjustments as circumstances change. Okay, so that's what it means to hold on to. Okay, all right, the non-conditioned action, wu wei, okay, in daily life. So this is the more practical aspect. Okay, how it applies to how each one of us can apply the non-conditioned action, okay, or non-attached action, okay, all right. Besides the meaning of the greater meaning about the Tao, okay, okay. So additional meaning is of the first phrase: if the sovereigns do not fall into selfishness and self-gain, okay, so that's important. That's what it means by holding on to it. Okay, the sovereigns is us. Okay, it's really the people. That's the okay. Well, further understanding is, if we, just like sovereigns, can also be unselfish and be guided by non-conditioned or non-attached actions, not daily lives. That's the first way. So the deeper meaning of sovereign is this. It's basically this. Okay, literally it means marquis and kings. Okay, the feudal system of nobility. But we are sovereign when our Buddha nature is our master, when we are led by our true master, the true nature or Buddha nature, then we are like sovereigns, right? The sovereigns the king is the one that transcends the three realms, right? I think that's chapter 14 or 20. Okay, we talked about that. All right. Okay. So deeper meaning of the first phrase is, when our Buddha nature is our master, we are holding on to the Tao. You are it. You're the Tao. You're part of the Tao. Okay. On the king land would change themselves for the better, making the kingdom water level if the non-attached actions. Then everything is, which means that can be can become better, all right? Better, prosperous, powerful. Now, another meaning is at the kingdom level is that all the subjects will come into alignment with the ruler. Yeah, okay. So they'll be behind the ruler, with the ruler, supporting the ruler. So the entire kingdom can be united as one, speaking with one voice, acting with one will, and thus become unstoppable, right? So that's how a nation would be one, right? United as one. Okay, all right. So just like sovereigns, now we're taking it more individual level. If we are guided by non-conditioned, non-attached actions, everything can be transformed in our lives also. Okay, so okay, if we can be guided by non-conditioned, non-attached actions in our life, then we are rulers of our own kingdom, and our lives can be improved. I should add then here. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Now there's a deeper understanding. Okay. Here. Now this deals with us on a personal level. This includes things that you have direct control over, things in your life, such as your work environment, relationships with other people, how we talk, act, etc., as well as all other aspects of your life that you thought were beyond your control. Interesting. Yeah, things just happen. Events, situations, all become favorable to you. All right. It seems that everything is aligned with you. All the stars line up, right, behind you. Okay. So they seem to transform themselves so that you can live your life better, that things run more smoothly, obstacles disappear. Okay. All right. Okay. So, more importantly, people in your life will come into alignment with you. This includes family, friends, co-workers, acquaintances, etc. Some may work with you directly. Some may provide you with support for your cause, etc. Their support and encouragement will make you feel unstoppable. So just like the sovereign of a kingdom united as one, and it's unstoppable. Okay, so this is the very ideal state. Now, the key is you have to hold on to it being non-conditioned actions. Okay. All right. So if you are able to be guided by non-conditioned, non-attached actions, all aspects of your life begin to change themselves for the better. People will align with you. Because the reason for that is because you are following the Tao. You are, how can I say, you are congruent with the Tao. You are aligned with the Tao. That's how Tao is on this grand scale, right? So if you as an individual act, it's congruent, okay? It's in the same flow with the Tao, then that's how things will transform themselves for you. Okay? All right. Just like how Tao is, okay, naturally. So you are going with the flow of the Tao, okay? Flow of the Tao. That's very important. Okay. All right. So whether as a sovereign or as yourself with non-conditioned, non-attached actions, it will make you a more prosperous and powerful person than before, because everything will continually come into alignment with you by themselves. Okay. All right. All right. Okay, so because that's the Tao, you are in accordance with the Tao. Okay, second line of section 2. Okay, transform, yet wishing to achieve, I shall restrain them with the simplicity of the nameless. Okay, so that's the next important phrase. So the basic meaning is, first phrase is, yet wishing to achieve. When people are aligned, when all things transform themselves, that's what, right, that's what we said in the previous line, there will arise conditions or intentions, because it can be very easy to be overcame enthusiasm. Okay. Yeah. So when there's change, you can transform, change. In this case, even change for the better, right? Okay. That's when conditions or intentions arise. Okay. That's the key, because there's change. Then conditions, situations will arise. Okay. So that's when, we have these desires. So wishing, right? Desires will arise. Okay. So another meaning is, is this positive energy is natural. So these desires or wish, intentions, maybe, okay, can arise. Okay, so we have to, it has, if it's not skillfully directed, it can cause potential pitfalls. Okay, that's so you can say that you're at a crossroads. Okay, so even though it's good, it's positive, we have to be mindful that there is potential for a downside if we're not careful, okay, about it. Okay, all right. So the wise leader would harness this positive energy for the good of the whole, not for the few or oneself. All right. So this is where, most people will run into trouble. All right. There's this, even though there's this wave of, you say energy, support, enthusiasm, etc., etc. Okay. Then it becomes easy or tempting for, okay, we're talking about this the kingdom level or even the individual level, okay, to what? Harness or use this for oneself. Okay, so that's where the pitfall comes along. Okay, further understanding of first phrase is wishing to achieve means to have conditions or attachments. Okay, 欲做一个所有所作为. Okay, it's to have intentions. That's 有为. Okay, so that's where the potential pitfall. All right. Okay, now let's go to the second phrase is I shall restrain them meaning these desires, okay, with the simplicity of the nameless. Very interesting. Okay, all right. This is I, the ancient use of I, okay, all right. Zen means to, it could mean to be calm at ease. It also means to restrain, subdue, suppress, okay, all right. Okay, the last word, this last word, pu, okay, or last word, the Chinese, okay. It's translated simplicity for simplicity's sake, for our purposes, but it has a deeper meaning, okay. So here, so this last word, pu, okay, it's very important term, another important term. Okay, it could literally, if you look in a dictionary, it could mean honest, plain, rough, simple. It could be elegant, direct, unpretentious, plain, or simplicity. Okay, it also means unprocessed lumber or unrefined wood. Okay, so this is an important term. It appears 8 times. Okay, in this class, it already appeared 5 times. Okay, or yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th time. Okay, it's going to appear twice. This line and the next line, and then once more in chapter 57. So the basic meaning of second half of the phrase or of line is to use the plainness and simplicity of the nameless Tao to restrain the high energy. Okay, to keep it in check, keep it aligned with the Tao. Okay, all right. Okay, that already implies some kind of intention. Okay, so that's, you have to be careful. Actually, it means it should be, it's non-intentional because of this I shall, right? Now, this I, people say, okay, so you have you have an intention, right? You have a human intent condition to control, to restrain. The deeper, and I didn't put it here, but this deeper meaning of I, okay, it's an ancient term usage, okay? It means it's the deeper meaning of this I or myself or me is that you are at one with you. This I is at one with this. Okay. All right. Okay. So there's no longer differentiation. So you are like with the Tao. Okay. So therefore, there's no more condition or intention. Okay. All right. So where are we? Okay. Okay. So another meaning is a second phrase. This is very basic. It's to keep things simple and plain, less complexity, or stick to the basics, build the fundamentals, and doing first things first. This is the responsibility of you as a ruler of your life, right? As a sovereign. Okay, because this line continues from the previous line about the sovereign, right? If the sovereign, right, can hold. So on a very basic level, yeah, it's like the ruler. The ruler has to have the wisdom, right? To control, to not to let things get out of hand. So further understanding is second phrase is having high energy will lead to a condition or attached state leading to intentions and desires. Okay, that's where things, intentions, desires kind of bubble up. Okay, all right. Here's the deeper meaning of Wu Ming, okay, which is the nameless. It's the eternal or constant, and nameless, which has no labels, are the two primary characteristics of Tao. It's the metaphor for the Tao essence. Okay, so that's what Wu Ming is. Okay, so that's one level of meaning. Okay, so it's the simplicity of this, the Tao, the constant, the eternal, and the nameless Tao. Okay, now the deeper meaning of here of Pu, the plainness, simplicity, or the unprocessed wood, if you will. Okay. So on a very narrow, specific level, it's the metaphor for our Buddha nature, which is originally very pure and honest. Okay. Or you can say very pure, honest, perfect, etc. Okay. Doesn't need refinement. Okay. So without undergoing cutting and polishing. Our Buddha is self-sufficient, right? Okay, it doesn't need to be further refined. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's the specific meaning. The general, here's all right. Okay, so the general is the metaphor for all the infinite possible uses of the Buddha nature wisdom, also known as Mahaprajna, and its innate inaccessory, unrefined wood can be shaped, unrefined lumber, if you will, or not lumber, it's wood. To this, okay, it's sand grains. So it's found in many Buddhist sutras. Okay, the sand grains of the Ganges River, 恒河 the Sa, where each grain of sand is a metaphor or representation for a virtuous nature. So all the sand grains are virtuous nature. That's a lot, right? I mean, how many sand grains on the river banks, right? So, all right, so it's a lot. Okay, all right. So it's like infinite, inexhaustible, right? Inexhaustible, mystical virtues, right? It's also the divine, marvelous wisdom. Okay, all right. Okay, so the deeper understanding is here. The nameless simplicity is the nameless original wood. Okay, the da, which is the essence of the da. Okay, so that's the representative, and all its functions and uses, the limitless functions and uses of the Tao essence. That's what the deeper meaning means. Okay, so you can say Wu Ming, that's the essence. The Pu is all the limitless functions and uses. So that's together, right? So that's the oneness. Okay, right? The essence and its uses. Okay, so that's the deeper understanding. Okay, higher understanding is we can use the essence of the Tao to stop the conditioned or attached state from arising. That's why the phrase is, I shall restrain with the Tao, the essence and the function. But this I is not a separate I. It's you are this. You are at one. You are the Tao. You are like the Tao, like nature, like Mother Nature. Okay, so that's how you, where is it? You, where is it? Oops. You can use the essence to stop the conditioned or attached state from arising in the first place. Okay? All right. So, implication after all things are transformed, there will arise conditions or attachment. So, we need to use the essence of Tao to prevent entering into that conditional state. Okay? Right? Okay? So, the key is you have to be with the Tao. Okay? Okay, or practical Buddha nature, where everything is done from the Buddha nature essence, then there will be everything is non-conditioned, or so therefore none of those desires, wishes, etc. will arise. Okay, all right. So key is once things have transformed themselves, have changed, things change, the conditioned or attached state arises. So we must not have attachments, so as to not enter into the conditioned or attached state. Okay. And the way to do that is you have to use the essence of that. Okay, or be with it. Okay, all right. The third, okay, yeah, this is the third state, third subsection of section 2. Okay, so the simplicity of the nameless, they also shall be without desire. So it's a repetition, okay, of this, once again, this phrase from the previous line. All right. So basic meaning is the simplicity of the nameless is repeated again. So this indicates it's an important phrase, which it is. Okay, it's very, it's very, very significant, and I'll highlight that in the summary. Okay, at the end. All right, to show you why. Okay, all right. Another meaning is keeping to the simplicity and plainness of the nameless, the Tao essence. It's a key to mastering this chapter. It is about focusing on the next most important step, not about taking on many things at once. No, multitasking. I know in today's contemporary society, especially, everything seems to be so hectic. That's considered multitasking is considered a sought after, you can say, skill or trait, right? Yeah, a lot of times at work, you'll say, oh yeah, I multitask. I can juggle, 10 projects at once or whatever. Okay. I don't want to go into too much detail, but actually a lot of psychologists and what do you call these people? That sociologists, they do these studies and they found out that actually multitasking for humans is a bad idea, and that people who multitask tend, well, even though they may be jack of all trades, but they tend to not do things well or completely. Okay, so all right, it's like you texting while you're driving, right? So we gotta be careful. Okay, all right. Okay, additional meaning. To be without desires is to be without extraneous, unnecessary, distracting desires, all of which tend to hinder your progress. All right, so that's why we. All right. Okay. So the Tao has no desires, no attachments, intentions, preferences, right? That's from the first line of this chapter, right? The very first two phrases. Okay. So, all right. So, okay. So deeper understanding. Okay. The general level is the simplicity or plainness of the nameless refers to the Tao essence and all its functions and uses. Okay. So we talked about that. That was from the previous line, and that's what this simplicity of the nameless is repeated again in this line from the previous line. Okay, now the specific, right, is meaning behind that phrase is the simplicity or plainness of the nameless refers to the Buddha nature essence and its divine, marvelous wisdom or Mahaprajna and its innate, inexhaustible, mystical virtues. Okay, so all right, so there's the general, and the general is the broader. It just means the that, whereas the more specific has to do with the Buddha nature essence. Okay, that we all have. Okay, so the implication is the Buddha nature essence, or the simplicity, the nameless, has no desires because it is changeless and non-conditioned. Okay, so the key is those who hold on to the Tao, the simplicity of the nameless, and act without conditions or attachments, non-action, in accordance with their Buddha nature essence, that is to be congruent with the Tao, likewise will have no preferences, intentions, conditions, or attachments in their minds. Hence, they are without desires. Okay, so that's what this phrase means. Okay. All right. So it goes back to the not this line, but let's goes back to here. Here. Okay. All right. Transform yet wishing to achieve. I should restrain them. Because if you are in accordance or congruent with your Buddha nature and Tao, there's no 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 more desires, wishes to do anything. It's just natural. So that's what restraining them is. Okay, you restrain them with this. Okay, with the Ta, with your Buddha natures. Okay, so that's what this is. So it's kind of like these two, 5, 6, 7, 8, sort of like goes in a circle, comes back full circle. Okay, that's how they could be without desire, because the key is this. Well, it's this I and this. Okay, so you, me, I, right? The you and the Tao and the Buddha nature are are together. Okay, are congruent, are in alignment. Okay, all right, all right. Okay, okay. So we're done with this section. Yeah, okay. Now we're at the last section, subsection of section 2, okay, which is without desire. So when you are able to be with the Tao or with your Buddha nature essence, everything's there's no more desire. No, therefore, no, it's non-conditioned state, right? So without desire, which is the non-conditioned state, and by means of stillness, the world shall. Okay, now some versions have this word, 真, or some versions have this. Okay, um, if you want to be strict, these two don't mean the same, but they also have overlapping meaning. Okay, so without desire and by means of stillness, the world shall rectify. That's if you use sun, or self-adjust. Adjust, upright. Be proper, or steady itself. Okay, so all right. Okay. They overlap. There's an overlap. Okay, but okay. All right. Okay, yeah. Here's where okay. The word sun. It means to correct. Make correct, rectify, correct. What's upright, proper, regular, standard. Okay. All right. Make positive. The ding. Okay. It's to settle, to be stable, to be steady, to set, fix, decide. Okay. To be calm, to be established, settled, etc. Okay. So there is a overlap in terms of connotation, meaning that it'll auto correct itself or steady itself. Okay, so that's kind of that general meaning. Okay, so the basic meaning in line is if we have no desires, then we can enter into the state of stillness. Okay, so that's what by means of stillness. Okay, and everything shall adjust itself naturally. You don't need to have intention. It just naturally will correct itself or stay on track by itself. It's like autopilot. Okay, example. All right. Okay. So another meaning of line is without any desires and with stillness, all things will naturally transition from chaos. What things very chaotic or disordered, right, to a state of peaceful, orderly progress. Everything will be in their proper place naturally. That's how some translators translate this, okay? Or, the world or everything, okay? Tensha. That's what it means, the world. But it just means everything, okay? Shall just what? Everything will be in their proper place naturally. It's like auto adjust, auto correct, right? Self rectify. Okay, all right, or self steady itself. Okay, all right. So here, additional meaning is all things will harmoniously self adjust, slow and steady, like a constantly flowing mountain stream. This is being in alignment with the Tao. Okay, so that's what it's like. Okay, so further understanding is to self-rectify means to self-harmonize, to be in harmony with everything, just like the constant changeless Tao. So it is more in accordance with Tao to take steps in an orderly, harmonious pace and let the modest progress each day add up to an impressive distance over time. Okay, so this also applies to us on an individual in our journey of life. Remember? Okay, so you want to have order. You have to do things harmoniously. Okay, so and it's only one little step at a time. Okay, so modest progress. You don't skip. You don't leapfrog. Okay, all right. So all right. Okay. Now, there's a deeper meaning of this stillness or serene, quietude. Okay, it's the natural, unperturbed state of our Buddha nature essence. Okay, 如如不动的状态. Okay, all right. Now, then this word "sun," right? Some versions use this word. That's correct, right? To correct, to rectify. Okay, the deeper meaning, okay, there are two, the general level is to stop or rest at the one, to be at one with the Tao, with our true nature. Okay, see, so this word "sun" has two parts. The top is the one, it's a horizontal line, and then the bottom, okay, means to stop, to rest, to stop at. Okay, that's the meaning. Okay, there's a meaning behind this word. Okay, the deeper meaning. Okay, now that's the general. Specific is to rest or stop at the highest goodness or excellence. 知于自善. That's from the great learning. Okay, so we've already came across this term in 2 previous chapters, to embrace the one. That's the first phrase of chapter 10, which is to talk about the mystic virtues, and phrase 7 of chapter 22, to hold the one. Okay, they all use the term to embrace the one. In chapter 22, you talk about the sages embracing the one. Okay, all right. So additional understanding is, when we are without desires, we will enter stillness. Then our Mahaprajna, or the divine marvelous wisdom, will manifest, will appear, because there are no desires to block it. All right, it's like the clouds blocking the sun. When the cloud's gone, what's left? You see the brilliance of the sun. Similarly, if we have no desires, intentions, wishes, any of those, okay, then that's called in a state of stillness. Okay, when our minds are not, jumping up and down like crazy, racing like wild horses or something, then what's left is that our divine marvelous wisdom will show itself, just like the sun on a cloudless day. Okay, cloudless day. Okay, deeper understanding. With the Mahaprajna, we will understand the truth. Then, naturally, we will have greater power, which is the samadhi or the dhyana. Okay, Ding, the power of concentration. And with greater power, our wisdom will increase. Okay, I think we talked about this term in, I forgot, the last 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks maybe, on the Friday night class, talking about the 6 parameters. This is the 5th parameter. The 5th, right? It's the 5th parameter. All right. Okay. So we talked about that. All right. So in the 6 parameters, the 5th is this, and what's the 6th? Is wisdom. So they go hand in hand. Okay. So that's what this means, is as our wisdom is increased, our power will increase even more. This way, samadhi and wisdom, samadhi being this, right? Ding, dhyana power. Okay. This way, samadhi and wisdom will mutually enhance each other. So the 5th and 6th parameters, okay, mutually enhance, and we will be closer and closer to the pure and still Buddha nature essence. Okay, becoming at one with our Buddha nature. That's the 6 parameters, those last 2, 5th and 6th. All right. Okay. That's what the implication is. Okay. All right. Oh, what I mean. Okay. So the implication here is, without desires, intentions, etc. Okay. One will not enter into the conditioned state or state of preferences. Then everything will be at one. So the conditioned state or state of preferences is duality. Okay, that's why, right? So if we have desires, intentions, etc., wishes, whatever, then we are in a state of duality. That's the problem, and that's what we want to avoid. That's not what our Buddha nature essence state is, right? The state of our Buddha nature essence, or the Tao for that matter, is non-conditioned, right? So, i.e., non-duality, no subject-object duality, etc. Okay, so everything will be at one if we have no desires, okay, or no conditions, okay, all encompassed by the Tao. So everything will harmonize themselves, okay, like beyond autopilot, just naturally take care of itself or something like that. Okay, so that's why it's easy to people when they look at this chapter, well, with the term, when they come with that term, the wu-wei, non-conditioned, non-attached state, is, they think that, everything will, by doing nothing, no need to do anything, everything will take care of itself. So that's how people will misunderstand that. Okay, all right, so, all right. Okay, so the key point is, this is a long key point, okay? And now I'll get to the conclusion. So it's about, I'm doing, it's about an hour. Okay, so Kai, I'm gonna need about probably another 15, 20 minutes, all right? All right, so in this material world, okay, or phenomenal realm. As long as there are people, they all have preferences or intentions. That's the conditioned state, or you can say the duality, state of duality, okay? Because we all have desires, that's why they have these preferences or intentions. So this conditioned state is impermanent though, right? That's duality, okay? There's a beginning and end. So we must be without desires in order to be able to hold on to the Tao, to be one with the Tao, to be in accordance with our Buddha nature, essence. Then we can enter into stillness. This way, everything will harmonize themselves, all because of our non-conditioned, non-attached actions. Okay, so that's the last point. Now, there is some, okay, summary that I'd like to go about talking about what makes this chapter, which, as I said before, it's a relatively short chapter. I think it's like 50 words, 49, 50 words. Not many, okay? All right. But here's where it's becomes important. All right. Okay. Okay. There's some special points. Okay. Special things to. I don't want to. Okay. Get too far ahead. Okay. About chapter 37. Okay. The Wu chapter summary. Okay. 总结. Okay. So that's something. So number one. Okay. There are a few points. Okay. So the first, very obvious, should be obvious or self-explanatory. It's the last chapter of the Tao Classic. Okay. As I mentioned before. Now. Okay. So that's pretty obvious. Okay. You don't need to know. Now. Second, and that's important, is it connects back and it corresponds to chapter 1. Okay, so that's significant. Okay, or that's very you can say it's special. Okay, because of all the previous, well, not counting chapter 1, 35 chapters. Okay. They some of them do point back or connect back to the basic meaning or elements of chapter 1. Okay, but this chapter more so. Okay, and there are 6. Well, I just give you 6. There could be more, but because this chapter has many layers, okay, many levels of you can say understanding, meaning. Okay, all right. So let's look at chapter 37 and chapter 1. Okay, all right, chapter 37, chapter 1. Now let's see how they connect, how they correspond. Okay, first term, chapter 37. This we saw twice, right? Okay, we saw in phrase 6 and phrase 7. Okay, all right, in the second section. Okay, so that's simplicity of the nameless. Remember okay, well, okay. So I'm gonna deal this as 2 ways. One is as a whole, the 4 words, and next break it down. Okay, all right, and it still connects back to chapter 1. Chapter 1, it's this. Okay, it's the name of the nameless, 不可名的名. And that course or links to the Tao that cannot be called the Tao. That's what it is. Okay. So as a whole, in chapter 37, when he said the name of the simplicity or the plainness of the nameless, he's referring to same thing as what chapter 1 was saying about the Tao that can be called the Tao, or the name that has no name, or is the nameless. Okay, name of the nameless. Okay, so that's one aspect. Okay, that's one part. That's A. Okay, then now I'm gonna break it down. That comes later. That comes in C and D. Okay, then there's another key phrase in this chapter, right? Recall the very first 2 phrases, right? The Dao is constant in non-action, right? Dao Chang Wu Wei, right? Wu Wei. And then the next phrase, Wu Bu Wei. Okay, so the Tao, that's non-conditioned action, yet there is nothing it does not do or it cannot do. Okay, so that's this chapter. First line, first two phrases. It maps or connects to this in chapter 1. It's the origin of heaven and earth, Wei Tian Di Zi, the mother of mirror things, and connects to the door to all wonders. So the Tao, even though it's non-conditioned, yet there's nothing it does not do. That does everything, right? Okay. So the Tao, even though it's non-conditioned, it is called the origin of heaven and earth, and is the mother of mirror things, and it's the door, the marvelous, all the infinite wonders, possibilities, potentials, limitless, right? Okay, limitless manifestations, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so that's chapter 1. Okay, so that's how this chapter, this first line, it maps. And remember, I mentioned of all, chapter 37 being the last chapter of the Tao classic, the Tao course path, okay, of this classic. All right. He chose, Lao Tzu chose this. Well, he had Dao Cang, right? The first two words, then the next two, and then the second phrase. Of all the words, the past that Lao Tzu possibly could choose to begin this chapter, he chose those 8 words. The constant Tao, right? The Tao is constant. Dao Cang Wu Wei Wu Bu Wei. And he did it for a reason. There's a reason, okay? And the reason is this. It goes back to chapter 1, okay? As a matter of, the next couple points, okay, I'll say it first. Okay, here. All right. Now, remember, I talked about this phrase. I'm going to, as a whole, I'm going to break it up, okay? And here's this broken up. C and D. Oops. Okay. I revealed too much, but that's the problem. Okay. All right. So, third point, the nameless, right? That's from here, right? Remember, this phrase appeared twice. It's the essence. Remember, we talked about that, right? The higher understanding. Okay. The Wuming of the nameless, which is here, name of the nameless, same thing. Okay, same idea. Okay. So the nameless, it's the essence. It links or it points to the Tao essence. I should say Tao essence. Sorry. But I think this is going to screw it up. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Here too. Okay. So in chapter 1, what's the call? He called it Shen. It's mystery. That's or mystical, you can say mystery. I mean, that's a literal translation. So it's the mystery which points to the Tao essence. Okay, that he used this term. Okay, it's in the lines 6, 8, and 9. Okay, of chapter 1. Let me call up chapter 1's overview so you guys can refresh your memory. Okay, here it is. Okay. Oops. Okay. All right, this is chapter 1. Okay. Here it is. Okay. Line 8 and 9. Use this term. Okay. Several times, 3 times, but this has 2 different levels. I mean, it's once repeating. This is repeating. Okay. All right. So this is chapter 1. Okay. Let's go back to the outline. Okay. All right. So that's the mystery. Okay, which points to the Tao essence. Okay. All right. Next, I'm breaking this up in this chapter to this term and this term. Okay. All right, so we talked about this. Now, oops, dang. Okay, never mind. Okay, I should say maybe this there. Okay, yeah, just more. All right, so the simplicity, remember we talked about that? It's the Tao functions, the limitless, the infinite potentials or possibilities, okay? The limitless Tao applications, okay? So that's what the simplicity points to. Same thing in chapter 1. It's called having. It's pointing to the Tao functions. And what's the having? It appeared twice, I believe, in chapter 1. Here it is. Here it has having a name and having desires. Okay, it points to having the name or the name. The name is the mother of mirror things. But then it's what? It's the, you can say, source, creator, whatever, of all things, infinite things. And here, with desires, one observes all the manifestations of the Tao. Okay, all right. So that's what it points to. Okay. Whew. Okay, here. All right. All right. So there's, let's see, A, B, C, D. There's two more. Okay, two more things that connects back. I mean, all right. You know, each one of you should do this exercise because this will show or prove to yourself, you know, how much you understand. At least the first, 37 chapters or chapter 1 and 37. Okay. All right. Here's the first line. Remember of this chapter, he used the word 道场无为而不为. Okay, so he of all he used this word. So that's the constant Tao. Well, guess what the first line of chapter 1 is? 常道. Okay. All right, where it is? Here. Here it is. 常道. Okay? The eternal Tao. Okay? I mean, yeah, he's talking about the Tao that could be called the Tao, but he still used this word. Okay, so he's talking about something that's the eternal Tao. That's what basically this first line or first sentence, two phrases, okay, means in chapter 1. All right, okay, chapter 1. Okay, so similarly, chapter 37. So he's telling us, he's talking about the same thing. He's connecting back. Okay. So he's summarizing, wrapping up, tying everything back. The last chapter of the Tao Classic, tying it back to the first chapter. So it's full circle. Okay? All right. Now let's talk about the last two lines, or the second to the last line. That's what the penultimate line means. Okay? It's in Chinese it's 倒数第二. Okay? So 倒数 means reverse order number 2. Okay? All right, second to the last. Okay, so what's the penultimate line of this chapter, of chapter 37 said? Right here, second to the last. Okay, this is one line. Here's the other line, right? Okay, all right. Okay, so that's phrase 7 and 8. All right, that's the penultimate line. Okay, it's what? The simplicity of the nameless also shall be without desire. Okay, and what is chapter 1? Second to the last line. Okay, here you go. Second to the last. It's right here. Okay. Okay, or phrase, sorry. Okay, second to the last line, phrase. Okay, it's the mystery of mysteries. And that's what this is. Means, right? We talked about that to, right? All to be the simplicity of nameless, right? They are without desire because everything is what? Contained with the Tao, the essence, and its manifestations, and it's non-conditioned, right? Non-conditioned, all right? Non-conditioned, this, right? Okay, non-conditioned. So that is the mystery of mysteries, okay? So these are just 6. I just picked 6. There could be more. Okay, you should challenge yourself to at least, look for the commonalities. See, prove it to yourself that, hey, chapter 37, the last chapter of the Tao Classic, does connect back to chapter 1. It wraps it together, so it makes it full circle, complete the cycle, if you will. Okay, completes the cycle. All right, so that's just point 2. Okay, what makes it significant? Okay, what makes this chapter so special? There's more. Okay, okay. Number 3. Okay, third item. It's this. Okay, it sets the stage for high virtues, Sangde, and non-conditioned virtue, Sangde Wu Wei. In chapter 38, next chapter, which is titled Illustrious Virtue or Abide in Substance. The first line of chapter 37, which is the Dao Cang, right? The constant Dao that is non-conditioned action, yet nothing it does not do. Okay, so, I let the cat out of the bag. Okay, it's the first line is used for virtue instead of the Tao. Okay, all right. So this chapter not only does it complete the full circle about the Tao from chapter 37 to chapter 1, it also sets the stage. So it's like the bridge, if you will, to the second half, called the virtue classic portion of the Tao Te Ching, okay, which is chapter 38. That's the beginning, right? Chapter. Okay, so it sets the stage. So that's significant for this chapter. Okay, that makes this chapter special, right? No other chapter does that, right? Okay, only this one. All right, so that's 3 items. There are actually 2 more. Let's see, do I have enough time? Yeah, I might take another 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. Okay. There are 2 more items. Okay, as cultivators of Tao, as people who are learning the Tao, right, about the Tao, we all hear people say, oh, yeah, the Tao is found not just, in the teachings of Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching, but also in Confucius, as well as Buddha, right? Yeah, Buddha's teachings, Confucian teachings, the 4 books in particular, and the Lao Tzu, they all talk about the principles of the Tao, right? I mean, we hear people say that all the time. Well, there's proof, okay, that that's the case, at least in the next item, number 4, okay, that this chapter, unlike other chapters, I mean, other chapters also point, some connect certain points, principles, or, principles or doctrines to the Confucian teachings too. Don't forget, in the lineage or the heritage of the Tao, right? Lao Tzu was one of the patriarchs of the lineage, right? The Tao, the 18 patriarchs of the Tao in China, right? In the Green period, right? Yeah. Well, this is entering the Red period now, but anyway, yeah, still the Green period, late Green period, and then what? The next patriarch after him is Confucius. So there's a connection. There's an obvious connection. All right. And then simultaneously, simultaneously, roughly same timeline, roughly 550 BCE, before Common Era, roughly 2,500 years ago, 2,600 years ago. Simultaneously, he came after Lao Tzu, but contemporary with Confucius was Buddha, Siddhartha. All right, he also, was around during the time of Confucius, around 500, 550 BCE. Okay, in India, and he also began his teachings. Okay, so simultaneously, the 3 of them, I wouldn't say exactly the same timeline, but roughly, give or take 100 years, okay, 50 to 100 years, right? So the Tao teachings or principles are found in all 3 teachings, and That's point number 4. I should connect it. Okay. Now let's look at okay, our outline here. Okay. Now the reason I also broke this up. Well, this is the natural. I have these color coded. There's a reason. Okay, rhyme and reason. Actually, the last. Okay, remember this has 10 phrases. Okay, basically 5 sentences. Okay, each sentence has 2 phrases. Okay, all right. So the second half, the back half, which is phrase 6, all the way to 10, by the way, is significant. Okay, because did you know that in here, in these 5 phrases, 6 to 10, there is a correspondence or linkage or connection to a specific Confucian teaching. Let's put it that way. Okay. Anybody care to take a guess where or which teaching in Confucius? This is more advanced. I mean, you have to know about, obviously, Confucius teachings, especially the 4 books, right? The 四经, no, 四书, the 4 books, 五经. Those are considered the 9, the 4 books, 5 classics. 5 classics being the Spring and Autumn Annals, the Book of Change, I Ching, the Book of Rites, I think Book of History, and maybe Book of Poetry. Well, some of them. Okay, the 5. That's more cultural, historical about China, but the 4 books is more specific to Confucius. Okay, and that's where the Tao is also, right? Because we're trying to prove that, right? Yeah, Confucius, like Lao Tzu, talk about the Tao, right? The principles, right? The Tao, even though they approach it differently, which I will also talk about a little bit later. But okay, so anybody care to venture to guess where these last 6 phrases of chapter 37, where does it connect directly? And I say, pretty directly, yeah, or map or correspond, point to specific at a specific level. Okay, not a general level, but at specific level to a particular teaching in Confucius. Anybody care to guess? 2 words. Okay. Remember, I already gave a clue. 4 books. So what are the 4 books? Right? We have the Analects, we have the Great Learning, we have Doctrine of the Ming, and we have Book of Mencius. Those are 4 books, right? Obviously, Analects was the conversation words of Confucius and his disciples and others, okay, and rulers, etc., kings, okay. And then that's the Analects, okay. So those are the direct words that's recorded, right, of Confucius. Then the Great Learning. The Great Learning was not written by Confucius. It's written by Zhenzi, one of his chief disciples, right? Zhenzi, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. It's very short. It's 10. It has a preface, like a 预言 or 前言. Okay. Preface. It's not an intro. It's just a preface. It's like a preamble, and then 10 chapters of commentary by Zhenzi. Okay, then we have Doctrine of the Ming. I think that's 30 chapters, 30 or 33. I forgot. 30. I think it's 30 chapters. So it's a relatively long book, much longer than the Great Learning, but it's shorter than the Analects. Okay. And it's written by Zisi, the grandson or grandson of Confucius. The second generation after Confucius. Okay, all right. And it talks about Doctrine of the Ming. Okay, very elaborate. And then the Book of Mencius, who was a disciple of Zisi. Okay, he also wrote down, what he understood of Confucius' teachings. Okay, so. I don't want to go into too much detail because that's beyond the scope. That's a separate topic that, we could, learn about the 4 books. Okay. Let's just cut through the chase. Okay. These 5 phrases, last 5 lines of chapter 37 point to a specific teaching. Okay, it's not in the Analects, not the Doctrine of Being, not Mencius. What's left? Great Learning. It's in the Great Learning. Here it is. Okay, page 2. Here it is. Okay, it's called the 5 progressive stages. Some people say techniques. They translate it 5层次. It's in the Great Learning. Okay, it's in the preface, line 2. All right. Okay, and here are the specific. Now I color coded for a reason. Once again, it's to map back to not here because it gets too complicated. It's in the other file. Okay, so here it is. It just means knowing to stop and then have steadiness, steady, and then being able to be tranquil, and then able to be peaceful, and then able to reflect deeply, reflecting deeply, and then able to. Okay. Now, this 虑 is 考虑的虑. Okay, it means it means to think deeply, contemplate deeply, ponder deeply, or reflect deeply. That's the basic meaning, the dictionary meaning. That the higher level meaning, well, I'll get to. Okay, so let's transition from this page, okay, or this file. Here's the 5 progressive. It's Great Learning, okay? So chapter 37 points specifically to these 5 lines, all right? It's very interesting. I'll talk about the last 5 lines of chapter 37, and it points to the 5 lines of the 5 progressive stages, techniques. Some people call it translates 5层次. Okay, and here it is. All right, so let's go to the summary. Okay, here it is. It's connection with the Great Learning of Confucius, the 5 progressive stages of techniques. Okay, see last page. Okay, all right. I should say see appendix, but okay, here it is. Okay, boom. Okay, this is summary. Okay, here. All right, here it is. The connection between chapter 37 and the Great Learning. So this is a little bit more advanced, okay? Because we're doing like comparative analysis, if you will, of Lao Tzu's chapter 37 and the Great Learning of Confucius in this case, right? So it's a little bit more advanced. You have to know, a little bit of both, and you have to have pretty good understanding of both. Okay, all right. So I color coded. Sometimes I ran out of colors. I try to align colors with the specific meaning between 37 and the 5 program. Okay, so this just came from the previous file, the other file. Okay, so it's the same. All right, but so let's map. Let's do the connections. This is the fun part, right? Okay, so I shall restrain them. Okay, it's the same thing as knowing to stop. It links to that, right? Knowing to stop, meaning knowing where to rest, where to stop. Okay, so it has. Now, remember I said they have many layers of meaning. Same thing with the 5 progressive stages. There are many layers. Okay, just the very basic level. Okay, just like chapter 37, very basic. Pretty practical, basic, and just higher level. Okay, all right, but at the basic level. Okay. It just means, right, you can restrain them, the desires, intentions, conditioned state, and you know to stop. That means stop the state of duality, okay? Stopping having all these desires, crazy ideas, or actually you can say delusions if you want to go to a higher level, okay? All right, okay, that's what it means right here, okay? All right, so let's do that. Okay, so I start out with the red. I chose these different colors for a reason. Okay, let's go to red. Let's see, on the rainbow spectrum, red is one extreme, isn't that right? Red is what? We have infrared, right? That's the infrared in science is the long wavelength, right? So that means it's low frequency, low frequency. Okay, that's one in, right, of the electromagnetic spectrum, right? That's what red color, right? Red shift, right? We could hear the red shift in astronomy or astrophysics. Okay, the Doppler effect. Okay, idea like that. Okay, so red is one extreme. I just want now Purple is the other extreme. Okay. Purple is the ultraviolet. Okay, well, this is not purple. Yeah, I try to pick purple. It's tough in word. It stinks. But anyway, okay, all right. So purple is the other extreme. Okay, so I just did this for a reason. There's a rhyme reason for this madness. Okay, of colors. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this to the last. Okay, because it's the other extreme. Okay, so next to the red wavelength, or red frequency, it's the yellow. Okay, it's a yellow, and that's what this line says, right? We say the world should rectify itself or autocorrect. And guess what? Now, Confucius also has this term, 有定. Yeah, have steadiness. Or okay, so there are many layers of meaning. Once again, just the very basic level. Yeah, 定 means you're steady, you're stable, you're not going crazy up and down. All right, you're stable. That's the basic meaning. That's higher level meaning. The higher level, goes into very close to the fifth parameter. You can say 有禅定. You can say that. Yeah. Okay. That's the higher level. Okay. But let's just talk about basic level. That's good enough, because then it'll also be true for the higher level. But for now, let's just do basic level. Okay. So that's so interesting, huh? So this is the last line, the last line of chapter 37. Yeah, line 10 or phrase 10. Okay, last. And yet in Confucius, it's the first line. Okay, all right. So that's what maps. Okay, score corresponds. Okay, so what's after yellow on the electromagnetic spectrum? Well, sheesh, I flipped it. It doesn't matter. Okay, all right. It should be green, but now it's aqua. Son of a gun. Okay, so aqua. So what in the 5 progressive techniques, he's saying, okay, so knowing when to, and have, then once you're steady, and then you're able to be tranquil, able to be calm, or you can say still. And that's where Lao Tzu is here. Without desires and by means of stillness. Okay? So that maps. Right? So from Confucius, right, he's going from here, from knowing to stop, steadiness, tranquil, peaceful, and then reflect deeply. Okay? Sorry. Darn. Yeah. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to keep them one page. Okay. Oops. That's why. Ooh. Okay. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Okay, good. All right. Okay. And reflecting deeply, you're able to attain or achieve. Okay. And now, this is very broad level too, many layers, like I say, of meaning. Okay. So Confucius follows a certain sequence, okay, a certain to get back to this purple part. Okay, whereas Lao Tzu, he starts the first, same as Confucius, but he also the first and the end from Confucius' point of view, he tied it together already in one sentence. And there's a reason for this. And then these are the details behind how he'll get this to this. Okay? Ooh, yeah. Okay. All right. So that's okay. This should be green. Sheesh, my order. Never mind. Okay. Then. Okay. Okay. So we're on line 3, right? Tranquil, and then able to be peaceful. Now. Okay. So Confucius, the word an means peaceful. Right? You could say calm too. Okay. Peace. Now. Lao Tzu didn't have that exact word, but what is peaceful? What is calm state of mind? Now, Confucius is talking about ourselves, each, the cultivator, the 君子, the superior person, okay, or the high level cultivator, if you will. Okay, so what is that? That's here. That's without desire. Okay? Without desire. If you have no desire, your mind is at ease, it's calm, peaceful, etc. So he didn't use the word an, but the context is the same. So in order to be peaceful or calm, at ease, I would say it makes sense that you wouldn't have desires, intentions, all of that, right? Your mind is not racing like crazy. So if you notice, Confucius went from or steadiness or tranquilness to peace. Okay, so Lao Tzu is doing it backwards, right? He's saying from steadying itself to stillness to desire without desire. He's going reverse. Okay, all right. Whereas Confucius is going this way. Okay, the other direction, and there's a reason. Okay, which I'll talk about at the end. Okay, all right. So very interesting, right? So now we see the correspondence. Last but not least, so peaceful in Confucius, and then able to reflect deeply, and then able to attain, or achieve, or accomplish, etc. Many levels. This could be me in we very practical, mundane level. Like if you want to be a good parent, good student, have successful career, etc., etc. Okay, it can mean that. Okay, it can mean that. Obviously, at the highest level, what Confucius was talking about is at the highest level is to achieve enlightenment, to achieve the Tao, to be one with the Tao. Okay, same thing. All right, at the highest level. That's what Lao Tzu is talking about. So now, working backwards, right? He's saying, steady, with stillness and without desires, it goes back to simplicity of the nameless. Get it? Okay, these two lines. Remember, it's one sentence. It goes, so simplicity of nameless will be without desire. Okay, so that's what. Okay, oops. Okay, right here, right here. Phrase 7 and 8. Right? Okay. So simplicity. So Confucius works backwards. He's saying without desire goes back to simplicity of the nameless, which is right here. Okay. So peaceful without desire, able to reflect deeply. Now we say reflect deeply. Remember, I talked about many meanings of this word. Okay, reflect deeply. It's means that you are at the peaceful, right? If you're peaceful, that means your mind's at ease, right? No desire, no worry. If you have that, what's left? Reflecting deeply. Remember, our Buddha nature essence comes out. Remember the Mahaprajna, right? That's another definition of the simplicity, right? Remember, okay, of the essence or of the Buddha nature. In this case, the simplicity is not just the great wisdom, divine, marvelous wisdom, the Mahaprajna, but also the limitless applications, functions, uses, the infinite potentials and possibilities. And that's why you're able to attain. So reflecting deeply is not a, all right, well, it's basically a direct translation, okay? But it means that reflecting deeply is to go back to the state of the simplicity of the nameless. Same thing. All right. So now you see this is so clear now, right? This now, why did Confucius do it in these sequence? That's what's called 5 progressive stages, okay, or techniques they call. Okay, he started from here and to get to here, to the result, right? This is the result or the achievement, attainment, right? Because he, remember, was addressing this, saying, this is how a superior person, a Jinzi, or a pretty high level cultivator of the Tao would approach. So that means Confucius is, pointing the way, say, if we want to transform ourselves from a non-enlightened person, right, to become a high-level Tao cultivator, the Jingzi, the superior person, and to achieve the highest, highest good or excellence, remember, right? You start from here, from step one, then you get to that. So it's one direction. So it's going from a person, person who's not yet achieved, who's not a sage, right? Who's just a cultivator or high-level cultivator. Okay, because you need to be a high-level cultivator to understand this in the first place. Okay, all right. Most ordinary people will not understand this. Okay, so all right. So he's going from one direction. All right. Okay. Lao Tzu, on the other hand, remember in this chapter, he used the term, right here, Hou Wang, right? The sovereign. Yes, it does mean kings. Yes. But the higher level meaning it's us, those who are high level cultivators or actually sages, right? Who can transcend the three realms, etc. Okay, it's the sages. So he's addressing to the sage level. So therefore, or people who are enlightened. So he starts with this. At the sage level, his perspective or his direction is you are the sage. You start from your essence. See, that's different from Confucius. Confucius is taken by a person who do not know their essence or their Buddha nature yet, who's not there yet, right? So, whereas Lao Tzu starts with, no, you are there. You are the sovereign. You are the sage. Then these can all follow. So it's the other direction. It's starting from the essence, the oneness, the essence and the functions. Okay, the essence, the oneness. Then it follows this way. Make sense? Okay, so it's a different direction, different perspective. Okay, it's neither is one or the other is better. Obviously, from Lao Tzu's perspective, this is where we should start, which is the most ideal, which is what also Buddha talked about. Okay, but Confucius was addressing it to what? The cultivators, and the cultivators have not reached oneness yet, so therefore they follow this. But now it makes more sense, right? So this is two. Now there's one last point. I'm not going to talk about this point summary on parts 2 and 3. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's one more point. Remember, I said the Tao teachings were found in Lao Tzu, obviously, as well as Confucius now, right? You saw in the Great Learning, all right, especially with the speak, but also in Buddha's teachings. Okay, so that's the 3. So now we did 2 for 2. All right, we connected the Tao teaching, or at least the principle in chapter 37, to Confucius' Great Learning. So that's 2 for 2. That's not bad. Now let's go for 3 for 3, the trifecta. Right? Okay, here it is. The last point, 5th point. Okay, it's this chapter connects with the 3 pillars, aka the 3 non-outflow studies. Anybody know what the 3 non-outflow studies are? Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm taking a little bit longer, but this is good, important to know. It's a short chapter, but okay, hold on. Okay, anybody know what the 3 non-outflow studies are? Page 4. Where is it? Page 4. Here you go. 3 non-outflow studies. Sanxue or Sanwulou. It's also known as the 3 pillars. Okay, it's a threefold practice, threefold training, 3 pillars. It's moral discipline, precepts of sila, meditation or dhyana. Once again, come back to dhyana, and wisdom. So that's the 5th and 6th. Actually, it's the 2nd, 5th, and 6th paramita. You know that? Yeah. Okay. 2nd, 5th, and 6th paramita, right? Which we talked about. Or Thai's class, right? The last month or so. Okay, so here it is. And how does it map? Okay, so in Buddha's teachings, it's the 3 non-alpha, the precepts, the concentration, and wisdom. Well, guess what? In this chapter, there's the restraint, the zhen, okay, it points to moral discipline or precepts. Okay, the stillness and to either the rectifying or self-correcting or steadiness points to concentration. And the simplicity or the limitless applications uses of the Buddha nature points to the Mahaprajna, the wisdom. Get it? Okay. So now this also points it's called three pillars for a reason, or three nava, because in Buddha's teachings, in all his thousands of sutras and commentaries, says that all his teachings contain either one or more of the one or more of this, either talked about discipline, precepts, meditation, or wisdom. Get it? One more. And you can prove specifically, I can show specifically, let's go to page 23. In one teaching that contains all three, and you should be familiar, most of us should be familiar with that, page 22. Okay, here it is. Page 22. Here it is. Oops. Here it is. It's in the Eightfold Path. Okay, Eightfold Path. The first two are wisdom. The next three, 4, and 5, are discipline. And 6, 7, 8 is concentration. Now, these are different levels. Once again, they're different levels, but that, we don't want to go into too much detail. But the point is, it contains all three, and it happens to be the first official teaching to humans. I mean, his first official teaching wasn't to humans, was to celestial beings and bodhisattvas. That's the Avatamsaka Sutra. Okay, but the first official teaching to humans, to his 5 fellow practitioners, ascetic practitioners, was the Eightfold Path. Okay, and it contains all three. So it's a harbinger or preview of all future Buddhist teachings. They all contain these 3 elements. So likewise, chapter 37 of Lao Tzu also contains these 3 elements. Make sense? See, so that's what makes this chapter 37 so special and so unique and important. All right, so these are deeper level, but that's all I have to say to now. This concludes I'm sorry I ran over a little bit. This concludes the talk about chapter 37. So if I have said things improperly or wrong, I ask for the Buddhist saints and Lao Tzu's forgiveness. Thank you.